folks, it's Kikoskia here, and the Whispers of the Old God expansion in Hearthstone has been released, and with it, the Year of the Kraken is upon us. No more is Goblins vs. Gnomes or the Naxxramas expansion part of Standard. They have now been put into Wild, where every single card is playable, and I'm very sad to see some of the now Wild cards go from Standard. Namely, I'm sad to see Baron Rivendare, Web Spinner, especially Flame Leviathan. I'm very sad to see Flame Leviathan go, because all those got a lot of use in some of my decks, and while I am sad to see those cards go, I'm very glad to see the Standard format come in, so that now there's only a finite number of cards that will, at maximum, be in play in Standard, which means that they'll be able to balance the cards that they currently have a lot better. With that said, I have 94 Whispers of the Old Gods packs to open. Some of them were from the pre-order, the rest of them were either the 3 packs that you get just for logging in, or all of the gold that I've been saving up. As you can see, I have 15 gold. Therefore, I have nothing that I can use to buy any more packs with. So, without further ado, let us say goodbye to Goblins vs. Gnomes, and say hello to the cards in Whispers of the Old Gods. All of the Old Gods, their followers, their various Cthulhian and Mythosian-inspired minions, and the other cards that have been corrupted by the Old Gods, as well as the minions and weapons and spells that are used to fight them, or, in some instances, help them along. So, without further ado, let's see what we get. Let's open one of these packs. I have not seen the animation for opening one of these, so let's see what it's like. That is gribbly indeed. Let us see what we have. Oh, looks like it's just a rare to start with. The Spawn of N'Zoth. A card that's pretty good if you have a fair few minions on the board when it dies, but otherwise, if it's played by itself at 3 mana, is just a pretty weak minion. I think a few minions need to be on the board when it dies for this to really pay off. It's a very slow card. A lot of the cards that are in Whispers of the Old Gods are very slow. Apart from 2 of the legendaries, I think all of them are 6 mana or higher, which just goes to show the emphasis they have on bigger, more dangerous minions. Not to mention Cthulhu and the 2 Beckoners of Evil that we got for free just by logging in. Cthulhu is nasty all by himself, and all of the cards that work with Cthulhu and Cthulhu itself are not actually available as arena picks because of the so very limited synergy that's with them. But Cthulhu is a force to be reckoned with. We won't see him here, but we may see him in play at some point in one of my decks. The Fiery Bat. Now that's a card I've been wanting for my Hunter deck. It's a 2-1 for 1, and it deals 1 damage to a random enemy when it dies. You're basically paying for 1 extra attack by having 1 less damage dealt, much like the Leper Gnome used to be, the 2-1 deal 2, but now is 1-1 deal 2 to the enemy hero. This one has the ability to deal it to a random enemy, which I'd actually almost argue is better. After all, if there is only the enemy hero, it will only hit the enemy hero, but it could kill off a minion when it dies. It's like a smaller, Hungry Toad. Stormcrack. Now, have you ever wanted to deal 4 damage to a minion for 1 overload, 2 mana? This is the card for you. It can only be targeted at minions, though, which means it's not going to be part of the burst the enemy down in a seriously aggressive Shaman deck. Don't see how much play that's going to get, but with a new meta, anything is possible, and all manner of decks will be being tried out. Any of these cards could see a lot of play, or no play. Some of them I think will get a lot of play. Another Spawn of N'Zoth. Well, I don't need any more of those. And Skerum Cultist. A 7/6 for 6, which buffs Cthulhu wherever it is. If it's in the deck, in my hand, or on the board. It's an interesting card. It doesn't do that much for its cost, and the 7. If it was a 6/7, it would be a lot better. But then again, if it was a 6/7, why would you play Boulder Fist Ogre? I'm probably not going to play that. I don't know how many other people will. But there we go. 1 down. 93 to go. Kasplat. An Amgam Rager. Spell that backwards, and it's Magma Rager, except it's a 1/5 for 3. Don't see how much play this is going to get, but it is a big body. If you can give it taunt, it's not too terrible. And there's a second one! Amgam Brothers Forever! Don't need any more of those. A Maya Keeper. Now, this is an interesting card. 3/3 for 4, it can either give you a 2/2 slime, which is 5/5 stats for 4 mana, pretty good, or gain an empty mana crystal. Pretty good if you're playing it for a ramp druid, but no, it's really late for a ramp druid to start gaining mana crystals on turn 4. Ideally, they want to start gaining them on turn 2. As a note, you won't get a spell, a 0 mana spell that lets you draw a card if you're at maximum mana when you use the mana crystal version if you're at 10 mana. But you've always got the slime version. It's not a bad card. Ooh, an epic there. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't the, it was Amgam triplets, clearly. I have more Amgam than I know what to do with. And here is the Vilefin Inquisitor. I have plans for the Vilefin Inquisitor. Your hero power becomes summon a 1/1 Murloc Silverhand Knight. It's a Silverhand Murloc. Basically, it allows your hero power to synergize with your Murloc synergy cards. And considering the fact that Murkai doesn't exist anymore, you're not going to see as much of the, I think it's the Anything Can Happen decks, because you don't have Murkai's that additional charge. But if you have the ability to make 1/1 Murlocs as your hero power, and then you put down a War Leader, suddenly you have some quite nasty minions there. 3/2 Murlocs. Not bad. Glad to see one of those. Let's see what else we get. Kasplat. Hello, Mark of Yeshaj. Give a minion +2/+2. If it's a beast, draw a card. If you're making a sort of beast druid deck, this is a decent card. 2/2 in stats and draw a card for 2. Really good card. Otherwise, it's just 2/2 for 2. Which is okay, but you have Mark of the Wild for that. Which is, what, is it Mark of the Wild? It's the one that gives +2/+2 and taunt for 2. So if you're not using beasts, it's not that great a card. Shatter. This is a card that's going to change a lot of things, in my opinion. Destroy a frozen minion. Suddenly you have a 3 mana, 2 card removal. Hard removal. Freeze a minion. Doesn't matter how much health it has, it's then dead. This will also give Water Elemental a new lease of life, I think. And it'll also give things like Frostbolt, and as I said, Ice Lance, and the other new mage card that freezes random minions or targets when you cast a spell. Note it says minion. You can't destroy a frozen hero with it. That would be ridiculous. But I think that's going to be a good card. Ah, Psychotron. We were never going to see the end of a Neutron, and here he is as a 3/4 Taunt Divine Shield for 5. It's not quite Sludge Belcher because it's a slightly smaller body, and when it dies, it doesn't make a new minion, but that Divine Shield is going to be interesting. 3/4 is a pretty big body in terms of dealing with as a taunt for that cost. So you'll be able to... what I mean by big bodies, the Divine Shield means that it's basically going to be able to deal with any amount of damage +4. So if you ran a really big minion into Psychotron, first time it's just going to deal nothing. So that Divine Shield is more counterable though. Blood Knight. I think we're going to see a bit more Blood Knight, especially if people start playing Paladins that use a lot of Divine Shields. I'm certainly going to be using more Blood Knight. Evolved Kobold. I don't know what was going on with the word evolved there, but it's an evolved Kobold. 2/2 for 4? Pretty bad. Spell damage +2? Not bad, but it's on a very weak body. Consider that you can get an Ogre Magi, which is a 4/4 for spell damage +1 for 4. You better be able to protect this if you're putting it out. 1 Consecrate and this is dead, and your 4-drop is gone. Also, Just as a random point, considering we're talking about 4-drops here. Goodbye things like Powered Shredder, goodbye the Mad Scientist, Web Spinner, Implosion, Dr. Boom. A lot of very good tempo plays have just vanished. And with some cards being changed, like Leponome and Knife Juggler, and especially things like Blade Flurry and Arcane Golem, a lot of things have changed, so you're not going to be able to have as reliable a 4-drop as you did with Powered Shredder. I'm sure there'll be a new one, but I don't know which one that is yet. Hello, Blood to Ica, a fantastic card. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, you get a 2/2 for 1. That's basically a 1-mana 2/2 that deals 1 damage to a minion, as long as it doesn't kill it. If it kills it, you just get 1 damage for 1, which is sometimes all you need. But in this instance, I think it's going to be a really good card. I think I'm going to see a lot of people playing this card. Moving on. Right. Power Word Tentacles. +2/+6 for 5 mana. It has its uses. You could put that on a taunting minion, or a minion you really want to keep alive, and it will be dangerous. But for 5 mana, that's a big cost investment. People would gladly play Valen's Chosen, which is also gone, I might add. +2/+4 spell damage +1 for 3 mana. That's a big investment. I don't see as many people playing that. But then again, I might be wrong. Hello, Corrupted Healbot. No longer will you be able to play a 3/3 that gives you 8 health. Now you'll be playing a 6/6 for 5 that restores 8 health to the enemy. Or, if you have an Arcanine Soul Priest, deals 8 damage to the enemy. It's a mech. There are a few more mechs that have been added. The Gorilla Bot is really struggling, though, compared to what it was before Whispers of the Old Gods came out. I don't see it's going to have a lot of play. It's a big minion. You'd have to put down the Arcanine, then it would have to survive. Then you'd have to put down Corrupted Healbot, and the Arcanine would still have to survive. And if you put this down without the Arcanine, and it dies, well, the opponent gets healed. But it is a nice costed minion, with a big downside. Big downside. Hooded Acolyte, a 3/6 for 4. That's going to be a big thing. In any Priest Cthulhu deck, this is going to be played because a 3/6 is a really interesting stat block. It is basically 4/5, but spread a little bit differently. The 6 health makes it quite durable. It'll be able to trade with a fair few things quite effectively. +1/+1 for Cthulhu, not bad. It's not as good as other cards, but I think that's because it's got the 3/6. Solid card. South Sea Squidface. This is going to be a great card for rogues. A 4/4 for 4 is quite solid. Give your weapon +2 attack. Very, very effective. You could play that and then play a Assassin's Blade. Get your South Sea Squidface killed. Suddenly that thing is dealing 5 damage. 5 attack weapon, 4 durability for 5. Pretty good weapon. Good minion. I quite like it. And also on that point, very sad to see Ship's Cannon go with Goblins vs. Gnomes. Loved using Ship's Cannon. Squirming Tentacle, just a 2/4 for 3 mana that has Taunt. A solid, decent taunt to play on turn 3. It's a good taunt. It'll be able to trade with 2/3/2s. Or multiple things with 1 attack. With 2 health, like 1/2s. It's just a nice, solid minion. Quite like it. Next one. As more packs get opened, I'll be seeing more minions I've already seen. So let's move on. Bog Creeper. I like the fact that they're just adding big, solid, common minions, so that even people that are just starting out can get a decent 6/8 taunt for 7. And it's got a good card art too. In fact, there are lots of big minions that have been added that are just commons, that are just big. I like that. Here is another Blood to Ica. Another epic. Shadowcaster. Oh, the fun that's gonna be made with Shadowcaster. Choose a friendly minion, add a 1/1 copy to your hand that costs 1. There is a 1/1 Ragnaros for 1, a 1/1 Ken Bloodhoof for 1. You could make some very silly things where you keep copying Shadowcasters and then keep copying other things. You could just keep going with that. it's a very, very good card. As long as you can put something on the board that you want to make a copy of, it's a good card. I see that getting a lot of use. There's another Evolved Kobold, and another South Sea Squidface. Marvellous. No legendaries yet, but then again I wasn't expecting any. Here is the Silithid Swarmer, a 3/5 for 3, which is a good stat line for 3, but you can only attack if your hero attacked this turn, which means there are some classes that just won't be able to play this reliably. Anyone with a weapon, or druid who has the ability to make a hero power that will make them attack, or if you're lucky enough to get a hero power from Sir Finley or something else that will allow you to basically attack the enemy directly. I don't think using your hero power, if you're like a mage, will count. It might count, but I think that would be more an Inspire effect. So, decent minion if you can get it going. I think it'll see play in weapon classes, but apart from that, no play at all. On the Hunt. 1 damage, making a 1/1. It's basically Elven Archer, but a Hunter version that's a spell that gives you a beast, I wager. It's just Elven Archer in spell form, with a beast, and a spell, so it can get counterspelled. But at least you're not giving your opponent a 1/1 Elven Archer with Mirror Entity. It might get play, who knows. I want to play this card though. Servant of Yogg-Saron, who summons a random spell that costs 5 or less, targets chosen randomly. I just want to play that and see where the random spell lies. I just want to make a deck that will just go, ha-ha! Randomness! And then I get fireballed to my own face. Or the Servant of Yogg-Saron just get fireballed. But more often than not, you'll get a pretty decent effect. Hopefully. Definitely going to play this. Cult Apothecary. Are you being completely and utterly swarmed by loads of very, very weak minions? This thing will restore health to you. If there are 4 enemy minions on the board, it's like a antique heal bot. But it's 1/1 better. However, it is just a stopgap measure. It will only heal you so much. And in the end, if they're still going face, this isn't going to stop them going face. But it's not a bad minion if you are being swarmed early on. If you have a way to recover, basically if you cast this and then destroy the enemy board, you might be back in the game. Possibly. Grotesque Dragonhawk, a 5/5 Wind Fury for 7. It is interesting if you can get that going with, say, a Tundra Rhino or something, or to give it charge, it might be decent. Not many people play, or barely anyone plays, the Wind Fury Harpy, which gives a 4/5 Wind Fury for 6, so 1 extra stat for 1 mana, not that great. I don't know how much play that will get. Moving on to more decks that may be made. Another Shatter. N'Zoth's First Mate, a 1/1 for 1 that gives you a 1/3 weapon. Not terrible. A 1/3 weapon is not bad. It's basically a 1/1 that gives you upgrade. It's basically upgrade with a 1/1 that's a minion. Not bad. Except you can't use it to upgrade a weapon you already have. But a 1/3 is not a terrible weapon. You can use it to trade with a warrior's, not warrior, paladin's hero power. Plus, does mean that you can trigger a lot of effects concerning pirates. Not terrible at all, I think. The Flame-Wreathed Faceless. 7/7 for 4 may seem great, but Overload 2, if you compare it to the Fire Guard Destroyer, on average that'll be a 6/6 maybe for 4 with only 1 Overload. Not as good as you think. Plus it can then be hit by things that will actually, like Big Game Hunter. But do you really want a Big Game Hunter? A 4-drop? If that's, it's a pretty scary thing to put on the board, and it's not like, the Fel Reaver, which gave you a massive downside. It's just Overload. And if you have minions that synergize with Overload, it's not a bad card, I think. Another Bog Creeper. And a Bloodsail Cultist. If you control a pirate, give your weapon +1/+1. A sturdy 3-drop that if you have a pirate will buff your weapon as if you just used upgrade on it. Not bad at all. It's a more conditional Captain Greenskin only for warriors. It's not bad. I think it's quite decent. You might start seeing some pirate warriors come into existence. I might make one. Next one. Aha! Another bog creeper. A Darkshire Councilman. After you summon a minion, gain +1 attack. I'm not sure this is going to see much play. It's a very slow card. If you're playing this on turn 3, it's going to be really weak. If you play this on turn 10, and then put a load of cheap minions out, it would be pretty big. But then why not just play a big minion? Because you would not want to top deck this. You would not want to top deck this, because then you'll get 1 minion and then it'll be a 2-5. A 2-5 for 3 is not terrible, but it's a 1-5 for 3 right now. I don't see this getting a lot of play. A Mire Keeper, nice. A Faceless Summoner. Summon a random 3-cost minion on a 5-5 for 6. It's a really good card. I can see a lot of people playing this. It may be a random 3-cost minion, but on average you're going to get a pretty decent minion out of that. There are some terrible 3-cost minions, but there are also some very, very good ones. And you'll be glad when you get one of those good ones. And considering it's random, I think it'll make any standard minion. So it'll make anything, even other class ones. Really good card. I see this getting a lot of play. It's like a more unreliable Silverhand Knight. And Silverhand Knight's really good. In Arena, that card's going to be fantastic. And why have one when you can have 2? Moving on. Okay. An Eldritch Horror. Just a 6/10 for 8. A nice, sturdy, big minion that's easy to craft and get. I like it. An Aberrant Berserker. Originally when I saw this, I thought it was... Originally when people first saw this, it was a 2-5 that got +2 attack. It's a 3-5 that gets +2 attack. That's a lot better. Before, I couldn't see a reason why you'd play it. A 3-5 that gets an Enrage of +2 attack, if it gets hit by a 1-mana minion or gets hero power, that's a 5-4. But also, it can trade quite reasonably. You could trade it with a 3-health minion, and then you could trade it with a 5-health minion if it survives. That's not as terrible a card. I think that's okay. Undercity Huckster. It's basically an unusual version. It's an opposite version of a Discover card. Basically, actually no, that's wrong. It's not a card drawing card per se. It basically gives you a card from your opponent if it dies. It's a 2/2 for 2 that gives you a opponent class card, which is really good. I totally garbled the beginning of this card. Apologies for that. It's a good card. I see a lot of people playing this. Of course, sometimes it'll give you useless cards, but that's pretty rare with a rogue. I can't think of many cards they wouldn't want to use. No. Can't see many cards. So not the pre-scenario where they get things that synergize with weapons and it doesn't work. That's a good card. I see it being played a lot, especially with the Unearthed Raptor. Stand Against Darkness. Yes, Muster for Battle is gone. This has been replacing it. 5 1/1 Silverhand Recruits for 5, not bad. But no weapon. It's a fair card now. I think some people may play it, some people may not. It depends how much you'll be able to defend them all. There are certain cards that will buff with that very well and give them all Divine Shield, I believe. And there is a Golden Shatter. Ooh, it does look quite nice, doesn't it? Aha! Excellent. Next one. Moving on. We'll start... where do we start? Oh. Doesn't seem like this one wants to open. There we go. That did it. Ooh, another epic. We'll start with that. Call of the Wild. Summon all 3 animal companions. Have you ever wanted Huffer, Misha, and Leok? Here you go. It's 8 mana to summon a 2/4, a 5/4, and a 5/2 with charge, the 5/4 having taunt. Pretty good. If you have minions on the board already, this is a really good card. I can see it getting a lot of play. Also, we've lost the animations on these. Here is an Adult Grizzly. After you summon a minion, give it +1/+1. I could see it getting some use, but not a huge amount of use, I don't think. It's a slow card. It makes lots of... This gets buffed every time if you summon a minion, He needs to be buffed twice, I think, to make it pretty decent, but if you put it out on turn 3 as a 2-2 and it just dies horribly, you're going to be a bit sad. It is a beast, though, and there are a few cards that synergize with beasts now in Druid. Another Amgam Rager, another Squirming Tentacle, and another Darkshire Councilman. And now actually I'm going to just back out of this a moment, because something's happened there with the animations, and I want to make sure that nothing has gone awry. There we go, let's just go back in. Don't know what happened there. Let's try again. Maybe it's just because lots of people are logged on right now. Who knows? Let's have a look. Okay. Oh. We have the Nerubian Prophet. A 6-mana card you do want in your starting hand. It's a 4/4 for 6, but at the start of your turn, reduce this card's cost by 1. I believe it includes your first turn. So if you have this in your starting hand, it will be a 3-mana card by turn 3. A 3-mana 4/4 with no downside? That's pretty good. Keep it in your hand for a long time, and it's a 0-mana 4/4. Not a good card to get if you're top decking, though. A really bad card to get. Journey Below! It's a simple rogue card, just 1-mana discover a death rattle card. It's like the priest one, the museum curator, except you don't get a 1/2, and you're getting rogue death rattle effects as well. And there are some good rogue ones now. I see this card getting a lot of play. Another Darkshire Councilman, another Flame Wreath Faceless, and Divine Strength, just the basic 1-mana give a minion +1/+2. Give a minion a 1-mana minion's worth of stats. It could be the difference between a minion surviving and a minion not surviving. I could see it in the Jhin decks. You just play it on any minion and then the Jhin gets buffed. It might see some play. Who knows? Moving on. Alright. Oh, another epic. Twilight Flamecaller. If you want to deal with all those pesky 1-health minions, this is your card. 2/2 for 3, bit slow. 1 damage to all enemy minions. If they have 1 health, really, really good. It's a 2/2 with an Arcane Explosion thrown in for free. That's really good. Not affected by spell damage, of course, but it can make the difference when you want to eliminate a lot of really low health minions. I see this getting some play. Blade of Cthulhu. It's an assassinate with a 4/4 attached to it that gives the attack and health of the killed minion to Cthulhu. That is amazing. It's a very late game removal with a not very good body attached to it, but the ability to add its attack and health to Cthulhu, really good. I see this getting play. Here's a Faceless Behemoth, just a 10/10 for 10. Not bad. This is the example of cards that have pretty decent effects. Or no decent effects, rather, but are just solid cards. This, however, is the Shield Bearer we know from Goblins vs. Gnomes, but changed. More expensive. Slightly higher stats. And if your Cthulhu has at least 10 attack, you gain 10 armor. Without the Cthulhu buff, it's not a good minion at all. But with the Cthulhu buff, it's a pretty sturdy minion that gives you a really good amount of armor. 10 armor is pretty awesome. And I think in decks that use Cthulhu, this could definitely see a lot of play. It's a bit slower than the Shield Bearer, but 10 armor's quite good. A Golden Faceless Summoner. Ooh, that's shiny. Alright, what's next? Another Darkshire Councilman. We got a lot of those. Another Bog Creeper. A Carrion Grub. Just a 2/5 for 3. A nice, solid, decent minion. It's like the Spider Tank, which was a 3/4, except this is a 2/5, and it doesn't go back to the office. Which is a shame, because I like that card. I'll be sad when that card goes next year. Nice solid card. Bladed Cultist. Basically, it's like a Zombie Chow when you combo it out, and it has no downside. I mean, it can get silenced and it loses the 1/2, but do you really want to silence a 2/3 into a 1/2? It's just a nice thing to end off combos, just be like, and I get a 2/3 for 1. Decent card. And the Thing from Below. Shaman are getting a lot of good cards. This is one of them. I think. For every totem you've summoned in the game, that includes things like the Tuscan Totemic and all those minions that make totems, this indeed will cost one less. And you could put out a 5/5 taunt for free if you summon enough totems. I like this card.